Margot Murphy is going to be the main speaker today. I'm just going to introduce Margot a little bit and then hand over. Margot's got degrees in economics, international business, has worked for Fortune 100 companies, including J&J, AT&T, 60 countries, 11 industries. Her concentration is in operations with experience in the US and globally. She's an author of the book that you can see on the right of the screen there, Vitalize Your Workforce, which a lot of the content of today is drawn from. A speaker, a Business Week contributor, radio host, Business Out of the Box. And to get to where we've got to today, the research is a culmination of a full year of 130 seminars, 17 states, covering 8 topics, 2,400 participants, all ages, levels, and industries. So, you know, I think we're very privileged to have someone like Margot sharing this knowledge with us. So I'm going to hand over to Margot now. Margot.
Welcome, everyone. So glad you're joining us today. And who are we? Darren just mentioned that we are proven executives. We do have global experience. Collectively, we have experience in 20 industries. We fully understand the difficulty of leading through chaos, and we understand the importance of having a loyal workforce. So why are we here? One of the biggest focuses in the past decade has been 85% of employees are not engaged, and that has been touted by Gallup. This situation and this accelerating marketplace and through all the chaos is not tolerable. It never was, and the problem is it's still unsolved. So we feel that we can have a voice here, and so we developed a solution that we feel is going to make a big difference. So based on our primary research, it may not surprise you, but lack of engagement is not the problem. Now, as you think about that, what we're going to do today, we're going to briefly go through what's the chaos look like, what's the lay of the land, what kind of challenges do we have. Then I want to touch on the transformation from business as usual to vitality, the required 7 core skills, why this is a systematic process, it's not guessing, how we measure vitality assessment. And then we want to end with a 3-year case study on the application of Vitalize Your Workforce. We'll wrap up. We'll talk about solution speed and next steps. So, chaos today. There are lots and lots of unknowns, and just a couple of them are certainly the pandemic and everything around that. What's going on with our banking infrastructures, Bitcoin, what's going on with AI, what's going on with the market speed. Yike. For employees and managers and executives alike, there's fear, there's confusion, there's job loss, income stress, and certainly employees and everybody have some idea their future is in question. So as we're here to talk about the workforce, the question is, who are they? Where are they now? Why would they return to your company or your business? And when they do, why would they stay? So these are big questions. So now what? Yes, you need answers. We all need answers. The point is, business as usual is basically gone. It's changing daily, and who can define it? Regarding your workforce and any business, the retention and skill evolution are mandatory. 50% of organizations globally have difficulty in retaining employees. 43%, it's almost 50%, leave for a little tiny 10% increase in salary. Gig hopping is everywhere. And once you start to try and fill positions that people aren't coming back, 36% reduction in productivity for hiring the wrong employee. Now, up until this point in the last couple decades, millions have been invested to solve this problem of lack of engagement. As I said, it's had no effect. And some, because it's had no effect, and some CEOs, matter of fact, a lot of CEOs are bored with the whole topic and say, leave me alone, go talk to somebody else. But some understand the intense value and the need to have loyal, active employees, and they're proactively looking for new solutions. New solutions, not the same. We take a look at the lay of the land. The research findings, as I said earlier, is you can't solve lack of engagement. It's only a symptom. The real problem is employee personal stagnation. Employees are busier than ever, but they have absolutely no sense of personal future while working for the companies they're in. You've often heard, many of you probably have heard, I only stay for the benefits. Well, this is internal welfare thinking. Scary. So personal stagnation is pervasive, it's unseen, it's unaddressed, and it's hugely costly. So when we took a look at all of the places that causes stagnation, the underlying causes are common to most firms. About 60% of the causes of stagnation were applicable to all firms that we interviewed. So this is where you start. Now, I just want to touch on a few coming from the research. The end of year appraisals was the #1 thing that came up all the time. They're useless. As you can see, these are right from the respondents. They're useless and they are zero incentive. They're only in place for HR and accounting and have nothing to do with me. Another one is no people leadership below what we think we see in the higher up offices. I'm just a number. My boss spoke to me twice this year. And a lot of them actually said, I never spoke to my boss at all. Low problem solving may seem like an easy topic. It's not. 92% of employees want to leave if their managers don't solve problems. And if they're not solved problems within 6 months, they want to leave the organization. Problem solving is not taught at home, it's not taught in school, and it's not taught at the office, and nor is it rewarded at the office. Taking a look at rewarding education versus talent, there are hundreds of people who are immensely talented who didn't have the opportunity to go to school and have wonderful people skills. So rewarding education over talent, big mistake. Now, the next one I really want to bring up, the job hasn't changed in the next number of years. You might say, oh, well, that's easy. Nope. I talked to 90 people in a room. Let's take a look at 90 people in a room. I asked how many people in here have something on their desk that if they did it again, they wouldn't learn anything by doing it again. 180 hands went up. If you ask how many people would like to remove something from their desk and not have to do it again, 180 hands went up. How many people have the opportunity to remove something off their desk? 2. If that doesn't hurt, it should. Let's add pandemic in here. New experience working from home. When people are home, they have intense shared learning with online businesses. They talk to each other. How do you fix this? How do you get there? What success have you had? Where are we going? There are many more opportunities to earn more money more quickly online. And they don't have to put up with degrading personal evaluations. And there are no limitations. No waiting till the end of the year that maybe somebody might have an opportunity for you. So the question is, why return? And if I do, what am I returning to? And how many of you out there have heard, yeah, it's just the same old thing. So why stay? So these are questions that are very active, very, very active today, and we need to be extremely present and address them. This is the diagram of iceberg you saw in the beginning, but I want you to take a look at the arrows, the direction of the arrows, and you're going to see them change throughout this presentation. What do you see on top? You see the vision and mission of the company, you as the CEO, vision and mission of your company, you see action of your top runners, but below the waterline, what do you see underneath? They're not busy, not connected, unwanted turnover. They're not visible, don't care, want to go home, and they only stay for the benefits. Just, it can't stay this way. We can't function this way. And going forward, companies will sink this way. So, taking a look at the agenda now, I want to talk about transformation to vitality, from business as usual to vitality, touch on the 7 required core skills, and then we'll move into seeing this as a systematic process. Transformation to vitality is, you need to take a look and say, what is business as usual, which I have on the left, busy but personally stagnant, and what is thriving on the right-hand side. Employee malaise is stagnancy, or energized and empowered. On the left, managers are not people leaders. They don't care. They interested in themselves. Right-hand side, managers are people leaders. Let's go down a couple. Stagnant. It's really high. I have had enough of being here. On the right-hand side is, I love being here, or how do I get in to work with you? Very important to take a look at these and understand that this difference is very real, and the thriving organization full of vitality is absolutely achievable. So let's take a look at vitality leadership. Vitality leadership actually starts at the top. It requires executive custody and absolutely a commitment to instilling vitality leadership. The point is, transformation cannot be driven from the middle. Very talented people in the middle, but they're not trained for it. They don't have the vision. They don't have the operational experience. And so it needs to be led from the top. Vitality leadership also has to be a company-wide goal. Anything less, like testing something in a department maybe, is just practice. And it's old, and the employees know it, and they don't care. So we take a look at vitality leadership. It's measurable, it's sustainable, it's easy to understand, and it's trackable. It involves workforce culture from the inside out. It doesn't look at the lay of the land and say, can we change the walls? Can we change the logo? Can we change? It actually transforms your workforce culture from the inside out with no big fanfare, but it's immensely effective. And it instills portable skills. So in today's environment, an employee can take a skill. If they have multiple assignments, or they get relocated, they can take the skill with them and continue to build on them. Self-reinforcing programs, progressive experiential reward and opportunity. So for vitality leadership, vision and mission, you need to instill vitality leadership in your vision and mission. You can't guess, you have to be very clear, and you have to cascade it down through the organization so everybody understands why they're there and that they're important. Vitality leadership needs to be instilled as a strategic fundamental for your business. That means it is permanent, it is clear, it's reinforced, it's communicated, and it's managed. Also suggest and recommend, actually, instilling a chief vitality officer in a C-suite function. The reason why? CEOs, and many of you are, You know, you're probably sitting there saying, I don't have time to think about anything else. I don't have room on my desk. Other people are slated for that. They're more suited for that than I. Whoa, 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 whoa. We get it. We get it. So we designed a function that's very practical and very doable. It's a chief vitality officer that reports to the CEO and is accountable for filling the CEO vision of vitality leadership, instilling and managing vitality leadership across the organization, and tracking progress toward high market value corporate vitality leadership certification for the organization, a common goal with a purpose and a vision. So for those of you who prefer to look at graphics, this is a depiction of the central focus for the Chief Vitality Officer. At the top, you have the CEO. The CEO is looking up and out, looking at what the investments are, where you're going. He works directly, or she works directly with the leadership team and also with finance, and is focused on ROI. The rest of this circle is largely out of their bailiwick of skill, focus, and talent. In the past, what you've had is the CEO at the top, HR, training, and communication. So what does that say? What would be left out? Anything having to do with human potential and anything having to do with assessing human potential and how to get there. So the Chief Vitality Officer plays a very, very vital role right in the middle, reports to the CEO, interfaces with the leadership team and finance, yes, but brings in another new function called the human potential team. When we took a look at how many, what causes of stagnation in organizations, there wasn't any way to reach them, there wasn't any way to manage them, there wasn't any way to integrate HR, tracking, training, communication into the evolution of the workforce. So now we have two new functions that are related, and they interface with HR, training, vitality assessment, so you know the depth and breadth of stagnation in your organization and can plan how to deal with that. Communication, that's the role of the Chief Vitality Officer. Now, someone I talked to earlier today said this is a funny picture. It looks a little weird having just the tops of people cut off. Well, the reality is, in the past, with business as usual, we fill positions, we put people in seats, and we leave them there. So now, with vitality leadership for employees, you're going to focus on providing future skill planning for your workforce while they are working for you, not wishing you had after they left. The key points here: communicate your future skill needs, define what they are, and be really clear. Start with 5 years out, commit to 3 years and 1 year, so the reality is very close. Collaborate with employees, enlist their power of choice. Only the employee knows what their talents are, their hobbies are, their interests are, and oh, by the way, what kind of experience did I get from the seat you put me in? They can choose what they want to do for 5 years out. Then develop experience paths as stepping stones for the employees to get there. Instill the training of the 7 required core skills for vitality leadership, and provide experiential learning, continual experiential learning toward the future of their choice while working for you. And the one big thing I want to keep on emphasizing, the importance of people leadership for managers. Reward managers for people leadership and for learning people leadership, and please reassign those that don't. So the 7 required core skills for employees, some of them are going to sound very obvious, but we redefined them. Vitality problem solving. Vitality problem solving, as I said, they're not taught at home, at school, or at work. When you create a core process that you can customize to different departments, different functions in different industries, you have something that you can port from both track and port from assignment to assignment. Dynamic delegation. Delegation is generally something at the top. If you have money to delegate or you have staff to delegate, well, guess what? We changed that to becoming a training tool, a consistent training tool where you can actually give people, plan and give people, mentor people into learning new skills on a regular basis. Mentoring, appreciation files, overcome the detrimental negative effect of HR files. Give them something that rewards them going forward they can take with them. So you see the skills here. We'll take a look. Now we'll take a look at how they all fit together. We take a look at the upper right-hand side. We're starting with people leadership again. Then integrated incentives, progressive experiential learning, mentoring, dynamic delegation, appreciation and problem solving, progressive opportunity. This is your employee vitality generator. And I say a generator because it actually generates enthusiasm, energy, and interest, because it's continually self-reinforcing, continual skill opportunity and evolution, continual lasting win-win for the organization, for employees, and it's continual recognition and reward with new opportunity. So taking a look at a view of Future Perfect, we touched on this earlier, but let's take a new look. Ignores natural talents, rewards natural talents. Low people leadership and managers, people leadership as a required core skill. Low problem solving. Problem solving is a #1 required core skill across the organization. Delegation of boring work is only for the top. Well, guess what? Delegation is a systematic training tool for evolution of employee skills. Ineffective training and skill evolution, continual progressive experience. One-time end-of-year appraisals is stagnation, continual recognition, reward, and little or no choice in future jobs. Not only that, not only do they have a choice, but they are actually encouraged, supported, mentored to get there. So now let's take a look at this diagram again. Now what do you see on the top? More cohesive and strategic alignment at the top. Now what do you see underneath? The employees begin to notice it's a new day. They're no longer running away. They're coming in, they're looking up, they're looking forward, they're getting together. They now have an interest in their future, or they have reward for their initiative. People leadership is important, and they become loyal and proactive. Now I'd like to move on. Let's take a quick look at measuring and vitality assessments.
I'm happy to introduce James, Margot.
Yeah.
So we got Dr. James Robertson's coming on next, and James is a professional engineer, one of the minds behind Vitality Leadership. He's a military commander or ex-military commander. He's got a grounding in economics and over 30 years experience consulting for executives, strategic planning. He's a thought leader. He's written books. He's got all sorts of literature out there. A strategic IT advisor. He designed the Vitalize assessment tool, which he'll go through shortly. And he's one of the main drivers behind Vitality Leadership Consulting Team. So without any delay, I'm going to jump on to James.
Thank you, Darren. So let's just overview our process in terms of how we engage with a moderate-sized client. We start by gaining clarity of CEO vision and commitment. And then we facilitate dialogue and workshops with the leadership team to gain alignment and facilitate an organization vitality assessment. This gives us the capability to then undertake strategic action planning, and we can then implement and train. The way we start is with something that we call a pulse measurement. Now, a pulse measurement is a very intensive, high impact, short duration, gaining understanding of the organization. We start with 1 hour one-on-one executive interviews, and we then and we do this with each member of the leadership team. This then cascades down to the next level of management, depending on the size of the organization and the complexity of the organization. We facilitate these discussions with proven questions that have been proven over many years to understand the essence of the business and how it thrives, what it is that it's there to do, then to understand the essence of the vitality and stagnation issues, and then finally to determine the critical success factors for the engagement, what the client is really looking for. So this is about building relationship with the executive team and getting a deep understanding of the fundamentals of the business so that we can align our engagement to fit in with your business. We then do something that we call a strategic snapshot, which is a workshop with the leadership team. We determine the critical concerns regarding workforce vitality, and this is done in a very structured process. We identify 7 critical factors, the essence of the issues that the business is facing. We determine the relative importance of those factors on a private weighting basis, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. We then facilitate collaborative, inclusive, the process is facilitative, collaborative, inclusive, and it's consensus building. It highlights differences of opinion and provides us with a means to resolve those and achieve alignment of the management team with regard to action. And that creates a framework for action. So let's look at the reality of different perspectives. What you see here is a screen out of our tool. And what you see is we've got 7 factors that have been developed there. We've got 4 delegates in the room, 4 members of the executive team, and they've each assigned relative importance weights out of 100% to each of those factors. And what you'll notice is on line 3, communication, the first person thinks that's 40% of what's important, and 2 of the others think it's 15%. Now that level of difference of opinion, on the one hand, it's acceptable because we all see things differently, but if you're trying to achieve a particular goal and get the business to a certain place, it's not necessarily helpful to have such wide divergence of opinion. So by getting it out in the open, one can have a discussion and one can agree on a preferred level of priorities, which everybody then subscribes to. Here's an example of another example, and what you'll notice there is on the red blocks of columns 1 and 2, the second point there, the one person who was the leader of that team rated at 25%, the 2IC rated at 50%. And what happened in this particular case, there was a very high level of tension between the team leader and the direct report. And it was only when this exercise was done and those numbers became visible that we understood what the cause of the problem was. And there was then the possibility to apply what I call executive override. To allow the leader to apply their weights to the overall result. Post this exercise, a discussion took place as to why it was important to align with the leader's weights. There was an involvement from the management of the organization and the human resources department, and they aligned themselves with a little bit of talking and effort, and the team worked very effectively for the next 5 years until the organization was taken over by another organization and there was a restructuring. So it's very powerful to apply weights to these soft, intangible issues. So we then move on, and once you've done the initial processes that we've just outlined at the executive and senior management level, we then go on and measure vitality. And it's important to understand that if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And this was said by Peter Drucker many years ago, and it's a really important principle. I'm an engineer. I'm coming from an engineering perspective, which is that anything is measurable. And as you've seen, we've been able to measure soft issues, and there's various other measurements that go with that process. So we then went on, and some years ago, as we were kicking this whole business off, we decided we needed to be able to measure stagnation, and we needed to be able to measure vitality. So we sat down and we designed some software, which we designed from the ground up. It evaluates vitality in organizations of any size, looking at both corporate and individual assessment, focuses attention on situations and actions that impact loyalty, productivity, and belief in having a personal future with your organization, and it avoids detrimental one-size-fits-all approaches. Now, it's a fairly complex piece of software. The assessments allow accurate diagnosis of problem areas, remedial measures to directly address the cause of the problem, effective monitoring of corrective measures, tracking of progress to a high state of vitalization. And it addresses a myth that you can't effectively measure soft issues. As I said a moment ago, this is absolutely not the case. The reality is that you can measure these things. So the effective analysis of any soft issue is possible with a defined set of measurements that enable the quantum of that issue to be measured and scaled. So the assessment is cloud-based software. It's hosted in the US with Amazon Web Services. It's accessible globally, and it can be administered remotely, so we can administer around the world for a global organization. It uses proprietary algorithms, and it measures overall stagnation and vitality at the level of individual business units. It measures stagnation and vitality also at the level of individual personnel, and models the organization with the ability to consolidate up the organizational hierarchy. So you can get a measure of the level of vitalization and the level of stagnation per business unit. And all of this is presented graphically and in tabular form. And incidentally, the identities of respondents are concealed. So here's an example of the output. You'll see the 6 categories of stagnation on the left, and the 6 categories of vitalization on the right that we've talked about before. And you see a graphical representation of a person's assessment of how or how a manager's assessment of how a particular department is performing. And then we look at it on an individual basis, and what you see here is the red line is how the person believes they are in an ideal situation, and the blue line is how they're performing under present circumstances. And the measure of that gap is a measure of the stress that they're under in that position. If the graph is right across to the left, then the person is stagnant. Where it is at the moment, it's sort of medium. They're moderately vitalized, but they're not strongly vitalized. And you can see that there's a significant gap there. On the second graph, you see that they're under quite a lot of pressure to behave differently to their preferred method of operation. We then look at here the individual measures. The actual tool uses a number of direct response prompts, and people respond individually to that. And there you can see the results for 3 delegates in a department, giving you some measures. So for example, if you look at the different lines there, you can pick up issues at a very finely granular level as to where people are stagnant or are vitalized. So in conclusion, it's a flexible and a powerful tool. It's a precursor to formulating a structured remediation plan, and various measurements provide immediate insight. Immediate actions can be considered, and you can immediately put in place a plan of action to start addressing these issues in conjunction with the 7 core skills that Margot spoke about. So I'm going to hand back to Margot.
I'll take over.
Okay, Darren, sorry.
Thanks, James. So I would like to introduce Dan to take us through the tale of 3 seasons. But first, let me give you a bit of a background about Dan. So Daniel Vogel is based in Montana. He's graduate diploma of leadership, MIT, Columbia, and Dartmouth. A TEDx speaker and trainer. He's held positions in elected public office and board of director seats. He's an expert or a specialist, I say, in resort hospitality, as well as a professional sommelier. Prolific writer for the wine and hospitality industries with several published articles. His experience as it comes to the Vitalize to the team, he directly applied these methods and material across the corporate teams of multinational, multi-ethnic, and multi-generational staff. In total, he's trained over 2,000 staff, managers, and directors with the Vitalize program since 2015. He also facilitates leadership courses at Vitalize Leadership Academy. So over to you, Dan.
There you go. Probably should unmute myself. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of the program. And I'm different, as you see from the bio. What that really means, ladies and gentlemen, is that I'm a people person. And I deal with the not engineered, not carefully contrasted, not academically correct, real people, 3-dimensional folks with personalities, with languages, with nationalities, with a tremendous amount of differences. And it's been my pleasure to both help develop the Vitality program, but truly to apply these concepts to the real people who exist within the lodges that I help manage. On the screen, you'll see actually one of our hotels. This is in northwestern Montana. This is a very large hotel, and the chaos and interest and the tumult of hospitality in there is very, very strong. As we developed the Vitality program, I was able to apply this entire process to all of my working groups. So here's the scale. So this isn't tried on like 7 people, and then we think, oh, this is a good idea. I have essentially 4 lodges. We see over 1 million guests a year. I have 900 employees, 7 countries, 14 languages. You can imagine what kind of complexion this is. Add to that when we open up, as we're going to begin tomorrow, as we open up these particular lodges, I have 5 days to take a team that you see on the screen here, 7 countries, 14 languages, in large scales. I have 5 days to craft professional teams out of these people. And you have got to do it right. And you have no extra time to do anything that isn't completely effective. So out of this particular project came the tale of 3 seasons. In the application of Vitalize to the actual working groups that I directly oversee and interact with, this is the story. And this is a true case history of everything that we've done here. In 2017, we had trouble. And real trouble. In any industry, you have years that you just go, gosh, this is just never going to end. 2020 might be something like that for you. We had unpredictability, we had poor performance, poor timing, our leaders were not accountable, and it really manifests itself in a frighteningly high termination rate. Out of the 300 people in one of my lodges, I think we terminated almost 100 over the course of the 100-day season, essentially 1 a day. And our retention fell down to 5%. So this is not a good working situation. And to this really rotten, because I have to tell you that the people part of this hurts. This is anxiety, this is emotional, this is anger, and this is dangerous. This kind of environment working here is not indicative of any sort of either returning employees or performance in any way, shape, or form. Everybody in 2017 was every man for himself. So we'll go to the next one there. In 2017, at the end of the season, we decided, all right, we're not going to do this again. And we applied then in our design and training of the particular lodge staffs, we applied directly the Vitalize Your Workforce concepts. We used the measurement tools that James has described. We used the approaches that Margot has described, and we applied them to the real life, sticky, sweaty, unruly people that we all work with in our really everyday lives. In 2018, at the end of that season, we went from 85 terminations in the one lodge to a total of 4 terminations across our entire organization. We had some people starting to shine as well. They were growing toward a set of goals, and they're taking everybody with them. The examples that we encouraged all of our staff to have and the leadership that we encouraged all of our staff to grow had direct, tangible, measurable results. And it's important to note that 2018 and 2017 had the very same physical environment. In my world, forest fires completely changed the complexion of the performance. Forest fires, smoke, those kind of damages, outright evacuations, any one of those things. And 2017 and 2018 were identical as far as fires, evacuations, all the tumult. And so 2018 started to rank as a real important success of the application of the Vitalize program because, just in those numbers, 85 to 4 is worth a lot of money and a lot of anxiety. So we'll go to 2019. After 2018, we went, okay, we're not pussyfooting around on this. Everything about the Vitalize program is going to be applied in spades to everything that we do. And so our training and development program came directly out of the Vitalize program. We added some corporate aspects to it, and we added some individual capacities. As we did that, we did this consistently across all of our lodges, and the immediately within 2019, the difference was remarkable. So in the early part of the season, all of the teams were firing all cylinders. Weather was able to be on our side. We didn't have any fires. We didn't have any sort of events like that. And so we were able to execute 2019 with a really unencumbered environment here. Everything was looking well for us. But as we applied this, the deeper and the higher performance we were able to see out of our staff. So we'll go on to the aftermath here. In 2019, at the end of the season, the actual results, and this is what's important for everybody on the call to really see, is that the results of these people's performance are remarkable. The working teams in the park returned a 90% retention rate. Remember, we've grown from 20, which is a national average, to a 90% retention rate. 90% of my employees said, I'm coming back, and they did. The business model and the financial projections that we are given corporately, as in any corporation, have a complete divorce from the actual people. We hit every single one of those particular objectives, and we did it with a staff who was delighted to do the job that they were doing. They were happy to be working with us. They were rewarded, they were recognized, they were aligned, and all of these things are what come out of the Vitalize program. Interestingly enough, that the other divisions within the lodge system that we're in experienced their normal set of high terminations and hidden costs. And so this wasn't that just magically by a wave of magic wand, this happened in all lodges. This happened in our teams because the architecture and the design of Vitalize Your Workforce as applied to the real people in our working groups. So that's January 2020. Now, everybody look back at where January 2020 was. When I actually wrote that, the world that we currently live in did not exist. So right after January 2020, our world and your world completely changed. So as we looked into the actual operation of 2020, Most of the staff that I had, claimed the high 90% retention rate actually was no longer employed. All of our operations received an enormous cut. Many of our lodges weren't open. Our entire staff was laid off. And so you would expect that in that situation that the entire organization would just fall flat. And it didn't. The real lesson from the rest of 2020 is that when you instill these particular working characteristics in your teams, when you vitalize your workforce this way, it has a life of its own. And now, currently, as I'm sitting in my office here, I will begin my leadership training for this year tomorrow. Almost another 90% retention rate is what we've experienced. And we cannot keep people away from our particular working environments. So the actual aftermath shows that once you have this vitalized environment within your working teams, it will survive. It will survive without constant care and feeding. And once it has this kind of set of results, it creates belief. And once you have that belief, and that was mentioned, I believe, by Dr. Robertson, once we have the belief that our people are treated with dignity and respect, that they have challenge, that they will be mentored, that they have leadership opportunities, that we encourage them to be the very best at who they are, they will come back. And they will come back not only in good circumstances, they will come back when you need them the most. And that's right now. If we fast forward to today now, in here April of 2021, I have the unfortunate spot of having the instant replay of the reductions of our working groups. However, still, with all of my lodges, fully 90% of the people who are working with us have come back again and again. And they've come back with good faith. They have come back with their very best skills. They have come back to learn more, and they've come back to contribute as excellent employees and managers and leaders within our organization. And even though that's actually 5 seasons, those 5 seasons have shown that the particular Vitalize program is durable, it is applicable, it works, and once you do the actual commitment to creating the architecture of using these particular things, it will be a long time self-sustaining program that means you will be profitable. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dan. Absolutely fantastic. I'm going to hand back to Margot to just give a wrap up, and hopefully we'll have a bit of time for some questions.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, James. I hope everybody can see that we are focused on being very practical. We're people who are not here just to take up space. Certainly, we want to make a difference. We want to make a difference in the life of your employees and certainly in the life of your businesses. We have what we've discussed: current chaos, the lay of the land, the challenges, and the fact that you need answers. What does transformation from business as usual to vitality mean? The required 7 core skills. We talked about the vitality leadership needs to lead from the top and what vitality leadership for employees means. And we talked about our systematic approach. It's not guesswork, it's a systematic, carefully thought out approach that's sustainable, and the importance of measuring vitality. Dan was eloquent. That is the actual results in the tale of 3 seasons. And I'd like to just touch on now speed of the vitality solution. We can't stand still. The market's not standing still. Things are changing fast. Our Vitalize methods are streamlined and they're time efficient. They're quick, accurate, because we use the 80-20 approach to accomplish most important things. It integrates and demonstrates people leadership from the top down. So everybody's working together. Applies solutions to address the causes of stagnation, and hence we actually create permanent change going forward. It involves the whole workplace, not just one person at a time, enables progress tracking and ROI, and it's consistent, sustainable, replicable across organizations, and we're excited to offer it to you. So now let's take another look at the arrows. Look where we are. When you install Vitality leadership programs, what do you see on the top? You see alignment and more action. What you see underneath, that's very different than where we started. You see momentum. You see employees want to come and work for you. They want the opportunity to be there. They come towards you, not away from you. They have enthusiasm, loyalty, and action. So the next step, call us, work with us. We offer a wide range of services, as you can see. We have advisory, we have coaching, we have facilitation, we have education and training. And so let's have a conversation. Let's talk and see how Vitality can complement and accelerate your business and create a natural pull for your employees to not only stay with you, but to grow with you and lead with you.
Okay, I've got some questions here, Margot, that have come up in the chat. This one, I think it's probably best suited for you. How does this differ from typical culture transformation initiatives?
A lot of culture transformation initiatives are on the outside. What do we look like toward the outside? How does it feel? They're trying to make people happy and have that be part of a culture. Well, you can do that, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're not stagnant. And the stagnant people eventually leave. Stagnant people are unhappy. So what we do is we try and be very practical, identify the places that stagnancy occurs, change those points of stagnancy, what actually creates the stagnancy, move it permanently, and lead people toward an expanded future while working for you.
Okay, James, I've got one for you. This sounds great. How much does it cost?
The $1 million question.
Yeah, the $1 million question.
Darren, what we do is at the start of an engagement, we will work with the client to craft a solution that is unique to that client. So typically, what we would start off with is the pulse measurement that I spoke about earlier. So we would come in for a day, interview each of the executive team, understand the business, understand the issues, and at the end of that, we would give you a proposal for a program of work. So typically, the pulse measurement we currently have as a special for a limited time only for $1,000 for myself and Margot to come in and spend a day with your leadership team to conduct the pulse measurement, and at the end of that, we will give you a structured proposal with regard to the pricing for what we recommend.
Okay, I've got another one here that's probably also for you, James. How long does the organizational assessment take?
The assessment is obviously a function of the number of employees that we're going to survey and the size of the organization. Now, to look at the organizational part of the assessment, it takes about 10 minutes for a manager to fill in that survey. And so we can, within a space of a couple of days, do a rating of even a fairly large organization. And remember, this is all done remotely. It's all done in the cloud, so it's all over the internet. So wherever you are, you can sit down at your computer and we'll send you a link, and you go in and rate those various departments. So that can be done in a matter of a day for a smallish organization to perhaps a week for a fairly large organization. In terms of the individual assessment, that's a little bit more time consuming because you need to take each respondent through a process. We can administer to that about 20 people at a time, and it takes about an hour. It's a very in-depth process. So we take them through a guided visualization. They presented with a series of questions which they answer on a yes/no basis, check boxes, and they do that for two situations. One is their ideal work situation and one is their current work situation. And that takes about half an hour to 3/4 of an hour for somebody to fill that in. So basically you're looking at a situation where you can probably survey about 500 people a day, possibly more if you get really streamlined about it in the organization. And if you've got additional facilitators, well, you can do a lot more. So for a fairly large organization, you're talking about probably about a week to a month, depending on the size of the organization.
Yes, I think that answers, I hope I'm saying the name right. It looks like Magida. So James, the next question is, how small, this is more my question, is just based on what you were saying, is how small can this be done? What sort of size company would be the entry level that this would work at?
Darren, well, I guess you wouldn't do it for an organization of one because you'd be...
Yeah, you've got good alignment there.
You've got good alignment with one person, but
sure.
Basically, you could do this with an organization with 5 people if you wanted to.
Right.
Probably not that likely that you would do it.
Yeah.
I would think you would probably be saying that a typical organization would be about 10, 15 people upwards.
Okay. Last question that I think we have time for. It's Margot, I think this would be for you. Does this work in any sector?
Yes, it does. It works in just about any sector. Let's put it this way. You always say always, and there may be one we haven't seen yet, possibly surgery. But in any sector, what we do is it's designed, the book itself is designed for chicken soup for the soul. So what we have designed it for vitality, vitalize your workforce for medical, vitalize your workforce for transportation, vitalize your workforce for brokers. Yes, it is absolutely applicable.
I think if I can just add to that, the important thing to understand here is we are dealing with what some people call the human condition. So we're dealing with the way that people respond to each other, the way people are motivated, etc. It's not an industry specific thing, it's a people specific thing, and you've got people in every industry. So what we do and how we do it is absolutely applicable. I've consulted for 30 odd years, as we shared earlier, and I've been in mining, manufacturing, financial services, professional services, you name it. I've worked in those industries, and the methods are applicable absolutely across the board.
Well, I think that hits our slot. I don't know if there are any questions or anyone else wants to bring up anything in person. Otherwise, we can wrap it up.
I would just like to thank everybody for being here. We're excited to be present to your questions, be present to a great conversation. Let's see how this fits with your industry. Let's see how it fits with your organization, because we are at a point, I'm passionate about human potential. The lack of engagement number means that there's lagging, wasted human potential everywhere. We don't need to do that anymore. So let's stand up, work together, and see what we can do.
Could I just go around the room quickly? Bob, have you got any thoughts or comments?
Not at this time, but I apologize. I have to drop off in about 5 seconds. I've got a 2 o'clock meeting. What I can say, because I've actually been trained and certified in cultural transformation, and the question came up before, and we did it at United Health Group, which is a mega company. We found it wasn't enough and it wasn't sustainable. So you really got to hit the people, which is what I really like about what your approach is. You're targeting the people themselves, the inner core, your key assets. So with that's not a question per se, but more or less, I really enjoy that approach you're taking. We tend to forget about that piece. Excellent. And you're focusing on it.
Thank you so much. Sithar Magida, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Any last thoughts or comments?
No, thanks, but I'd love to engage at a later stage on the emails that I saw were shared on my LinkedIn profile. But thank you very much.
Great. Well, we'll get in touch with you. And if you'd like to set up a Zoom call, we can certainly do that. Thanks, Sue. Any comments from your side? Star.
Okay.
Thank you. Sue, any comments from your side? No. Thanks for an interesting session. Thanks, Sue. Rich Barrett, any thoughts or comments from your side?
Yes, it's an important topic. Some of the things I've been reading lately is employees are looking for a purpose in the work that they do. Is your training kind of talk about that and how people can be more engaged when they believe they have a strong purpose for the work they do?
I believe, yes, I agree with that. I think people do are more engaged when they have a purpose. A lot of things that go into the idea of purpose. Some people think purpose is building a well. For the outside group, the purpose, when you talk to employees and say, okay, what do you want your future to look like? What's important to you? Part of this program is identifying what's important to them. Some people have importance. They need to put kids in school. Some people need to have another important thing that's going on in their life, and that changes. And so we need to, that's another piece of purpose. But one of the things that people need the most, they need to feel an evolution and a realization of who they are, who inside they are. And how do I feel? How do I realize my own personal potential while I'm standing on this earth, and oh, by the way, while I'm working for you? And that's really the big key thing.
Thanks, Margot.
Margot, in your book, you do talk about what's in it for me. It's quite a lot about that.
I do.
Yeah, there's a whole section.
Rich, have you? And that's a good point. You probably heard the term "what's in it for me"?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And what that is, that actually is it's wide and wide all the time. And that's one of the things when we run into this pandemic. Why are you coming back? Why am I coming? And why am I staying? What's in it for me? Guess what? That is just so clear. It's razor sharp clear. And that's one of the things you just asked. What's in it for me? And we need to focus on that and do that and stay with it. It isn't just creating a program that maybe it'll be sustainable by itself someplace. The companies need to put in place this kind of a system, the self-reinforceable system that actually picks up speed for them and expands their world as they go. And that's where the excitement comes from.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Rich. Paul, any comments or thoughts from your side?
Yeah, James, good presentation, guys. Thank you. I can think of many of the organizations I've worked for where this model is badly needed. But it's got to come from the top, hasn't it? And you've got to get your employees engaged, but their managers need to be engaged as well. And it's no good working from the bottom up. We've got to work from the top down, I would think.
Absolutely, yes.
The installation of the premise and the installation of the vision and the idea of committing to vitality leadership absolutely needs to be top down. In the meantime, you can start to train people in vitality problem solving. So you actually train a process and then get them used to customizing it. So there are pieces that you can do. But if you want to evolve your culture from the inside out, from business as usual to actually being proactive, excited organization, does need to be top down, yes.
Yeah, thanks, Margot.
Well, thank you, everybody. Darren, over to you.
Yes, I'd just like to close and thank everyone. I have everyone who's signed up will have your email addresses, and I'll make sure we send a copy of the presentation through to you in the next 2 days. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to meeting you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.